Hey, welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. I'm so glad you've chosen to join me today. And with me is Tyler Jensen with Insure Risk University. Tyler, thanks for joining me.
Of course, Carl. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Tyler, why don't you start off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey, and we'll dive into our conversation.
Of course. Yes. So I'm the founder of Insure Risk University. It's a course within our platform. We're actually just going through a little name change here as well, becoming the top performance group, because ultimately that's what we help individuals achieve is top performance within their life and their business and focus on the insurance industry. So I've been training agents for several years, was a corporate trainer. Prior to that, I owned an agency. And then prior to that, I was a corporate trainer before that. So been in kind of the consulting and coaching and training industry for over a decade and absolutely just love helping people find their own successes, find their uniqueness, and helping others.
Fantastic. So well, let's kind of start unpacking this a little bit. Peak performance, success. Those are all things everybody says they want. And I think you and I would probably both agree that most of the time our biggest barrier is somewhere right in here. And talk to me a little bit about the students that come to you. What are some of the common things they're telling you when they knock on your door, they send you that email, they say, Tyler, here's what I'm wrestling with. Here's that wall I just seem to be hitting, or what tend to be the common themes that you're hearing when somebody first engages with you.
Yes. I would say the most common is our first complacency model. So the thing that's keeping individuals from top performance is complacency. And we have three complacency models that everybody falls into at least one of them. And I would say the first one is complacently busy, where they are so overwhelmed trying to run a business, trying to run their agency. They're going from underwriting to a client call to an email to a text to going to an appointment. And they are so chaotic throughout the day that ultimately no progression can be made on their business. So they're not doing the things that is actually moving the needle towards long-term growth, success, expansion, cultural development that needs to happen in order to grow the business. I would say that's the biggest one that most of our clients feel is they feel that feeling of being overwhelmed with no path to get out of it.
Good. So the issue is they're you know so busy that they get away from those, I call them, income producing activities.
Yes. Yep.
uh, busy working in the business, not on the business. Good.
Correct.
So
Yep.
so so let's talk about that though. So that is a trap. So how does an agent find themselves, number one? How do they slide into that? Let's talk about that because it's kind of an easy path to get there. Tyranny of the urgent. But then what are some of the steps that an agent has to do, number one, to become aware, good grief, I've gotten stuck. And then what are some of the first things they're going to have to do to change? Because, you know, people are habitual.
Yeah.
How do we change the routines?
Absolutely. The first one, recognizing that we're stuck. I feel like if you were to just pause and take a look at your business, you recognize that, oh my goodness, I am so overwhelmed. And the people who are not producing the income generating activities, those are the people that are telling others how busy they are. Those that are productive are just as busy as everybody else, but they're not the ones complaining about it because it takes too much energy to complain about being so busy that they're actually working on their business and they're using their energy in those matters. So, first off, are you saying to other people, I am so busy all the time in my business? That's your first sign that you are stuck in this complacent model because we all have 24 hours in the day. It's self management. How are you managing those hours in your day to be most productive? That's the shift. Now, the first thing that helps people get out of that is one of our pillars of top performance. We have four pillars. It's actually our second one, which is systems. Now, when you're looking at your day, everything you have to do, you can take it through a few processes. First, you could say, can I just eliminate this? Majority of the stuff you do during the day, you could. The next is, how do I systematize this? Can I put a system in place to automate this task? Can I create a process that can be followed to streamline it? Can I time block it in a certain area? Those are different systems that you can build. And so that's the first step is we have to be able to put in systems to organize our day. Once we have systems in place, that's going to give you time to then work on the business. So you're no longer running by chaos, you're running by systems. And that's how you can start getting consistent results.
Good. I want to dive into that a little more because you brought up, I think, some really valuable points here, and I don't want to skate past those too fast. One of the first things is this idea of systems. In today's world, there is a system for pretty much any task anybody could think of. And so I want us to kind of unpack that a little bit because, I think sometimes we just need to take the initiative to go in search of the system that's going to make our life easier there. And so let's talk through, if you don't mind, Tyler, some of the systems that you find create the greatest margin for your students. That those simple things that they apply that system, and wow, it really opens up some space.
Yeah. There's a few that I could probably focus on. The first of which is automation systems within your CRM. Making sure your CRM has automated tasks from follow up to client servicing to the client interactions. The next would be systems for your employees. So, does every employee on your team have a system that they can follow? Essentially, do they know how to do their job? Because if not, they're running through chaos as well, and they're not being as productive as they can if they're going from one thing to another. Or if you have two employees doing the exact same task together, trying to figure something out. And so make sure you have systems and processes in place for each employee. And then, of course, you need systems for your sales. What is the customer experience from the moment we meet them all the way through the customer lifecycle? Now, those systems, they have to be invested in. And that's where I feel like a lot of people get hung up is you have to invest in experience for clients and making sure those systems take place so they have the correct onboarding. They have a system for the sales to make sure they're protected the proper way. There's a system for overcoming objections. There's a systems for closing the deal. You have a system for your underwriting. And then as they go through that process, it's a smooth transition. Versus if you don't have things established, you're running by that chaos. Things fall through the cracks. Errors and omissions happen. Underwriting gets upset at you, and things just trickle out. And now you're playing catch up on the back end.
Absolutely. There's uh, a real key to systems development, and I don't know if you recommend this book to your students, but Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Yep.
And, he talks about turn on your camera for everything you do, and just start talking, just
Yeah.
start documenting everything you do, so people can learn your processes and they can repeat it. In our business, we call them our playbooks. We have playbooks for everything,
Yep.
yeah, so that we can repeat the same processes over and over and produce the same result. And so I think that's a powerful, piece that you're giving us there, Tyler. The other thing that I kind of want to, dive into and tie these together a little bit. You also mentioned time block. And I know for my own calendar, uh, everything's in blocks. So I have colors on my screen, color blocks, and every color represents certain priorities that I'm working on. Can you talk a little bit about time blocking and the way you look at it and how that is a system in itself, and then we'll talk a little bit about why that time blocking is important, because as we're talking about developing those playbooks, it's going to take a little time to develop those.
Correct. It does. It takes a while to build them. Um, one of my clients, I'll tell you one of his stories. Whenever we start out, I give them honestly one of the hardest challenges that they're going to face in their business initially, and it's the first thing I start out on within our coaching, because one, it's going to show their initiative. Two, I'm letting them know, hey, we are serious on moving the needle in your business, and we start them off on what's called a 14-day audit. And so for every 15-minute increments, they have to audit everything they do in every 15-minute increments of their day, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, Monday through Sunday, even on the weekends. And what we're doing there is, one, it's very telling for themselves on how complacent they are. I had one client, and it was on our second coaching coffee at the assignment, and he said, Tyler, I waste so much time every single day. It's ridiculous. And it clicked with him of just how much wasted time he has going from one task to another and then becoming distracted. You answer a text, and now all of a sudden he realized he spent 30 minutes on that text because it led him to another text, it led him to Facebook, it led him to scrolling, led him, oh, I need to talk to this person. And then all of a sudden 30 minutes went by. And so as we go through this process, it does several things for them. One, it gets them to know everything they have to do within the business, all the tasks that need to be done. Because then we can set up in the future, how do we align tasks? How do we assign these to specific employees? How do we build out job descriptions to make sure all tasks are done in the most effective manner? What are things that don't fill you up? What are things that tear you down? Which ones can we then automate or hire out or delegate? Which ones can we focus on? So it all kind of lays this bedrock of building these systems going forward. But it is a difficult task for many people to do, as you could imagine. It's essentially, I look at it as it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And that's kind of one of those first processes to start time blocking, because then you can look at everything you have to do and say, okay, where are my priorities? I need to set time on my calendar for my income generating activities. I can then time block this hour here to reply to my emails and texts. We can put a system in place to automate replies, saying we reply to our clients at this time. And then we have a time block. It's on my example, I have a time block of putting out fires. And it's just, here's an hour where I can put out those fires that I feel are so needed, right? But no, put them there on the calendar, solve them then, put time in your calendar for your income generating activities, and put time on the calendar for your family. That's why I have them do the weekends. Is, are you making time for your spouse? Or are you being complacent with your family? Are you making time for your kids? Are you making time for your community? So as we do those things on the evenings and the weekends, it's also a realization of, is my priorities focused on the best things?
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's so critical because if you're compromising in one area of your life, you're compromising in multiple areas of your life. And so, how powerful that is. And I know it was an aha for me when I started doing that. For years, my calendar was run by task. And so just tyranny of the urgent, this thing
Yep.
was, popping up. And when I shifted to blocking off by priority, uh, very freeing, much more productive, and I think you would agree, however much room we leave for a task, it'll take up all of that time. And so, that's key. So let's kind of talk through, as you deal with this complacency, you know, agents start to realize, oh wow, I really am complacent. I do waste a lot of time, and I find a lot of things that keep me from doing the things that are moving my business forward. What are some of the, as that light bulb comes on, what are some of the, as they get those aha moments, what are some of the shifts that you see them make? Maybe not just in their work habits, but overall in their mindset, in the way they view themselves. Because I tend to find, and maybe you can echo this, that sometimes the reason an agent buries themselves in busy work is they're also dealing with some head junk, value, self-worth, um, not feeling confident. There could be a lot of stuff that unpacks out of that. So I'd love for you to speak to that. As they start to clean house in some of the habits, what other stuff do you see start to shift in their mindset and in the way they begin to approach life?
That actually leads us, Carl, right into our second complacency model. And it's our natural complacent state. And it goes to our mindset. It has a direct proportion to what we call as our negativity bias. So because everybody's pessimistic by nature, soul on earth, that is, unless you're Tony Robbins and he's exempt. Um, but essentially, when things don't work, so if we're following a system and things don't work, we made a phone call, somebody rejected us, and that experience has a greater impact on your psychological state. And so when we view that as a failure, that induces fear. And the fear is a process in the human body to keep us safe. So then the next time you have to do that task, you have to pick up the phone and call somebody. Your negativity bias, your pessimism says, oh, last time you did that, Carl, that was scary and somebody yelled at you. You probably shouldn't do it. And so that feeling of fear then leads us to complacency. So then we look for other avenues of what we could do to fill our time rather than doing the things we know that needs to be done. And it's shown that individuals spend 2 hours every day in a complacent state induced by pessimism. So you look at that as a hidden cost to your business. You have 3 employees. Average is $18 an hour. That's $9,000 per year per employee that they're wasting due to the fact that their natural state tells them don't do something. And so that leads into our first pillars. We have to change the mindset. That first pillar is optimism. How do we induce the best outcomes. So optimism, a lot of people think it means positive, but the Latin word for optimism means best. So what is the best outcome? How do I have the best mindset? How do I look at what normal people view as a failure in the best light? What can I learn from it? How can I grow? What's the next best step going forward to get me towards my desired outcome? So, the optimist, where a majority of people view things as a failure, they say there are no such things as failures in life. There's only opportunities to learn and grow. And so they take that into this feedback loop. And when that happens, they stop, they talk it out. They can literally say out loud, that sucked. And that changes your state just by saying that. And then you can evaluate and say, okay, what did I learn from this? What's the next thing that I can do going forward? And then you can pursue that course towards your desired outcome. So you take the next step, STEP. And as you create that feedback loop, you're just increasing your power, you're applying it back into your system, and that's a success. And so you have to create a culture of learning and discovery within your office so your employees know that failure is a good thing. Failure makes us better. And so when we can start to shift that mindset, that's where we can start overcoming our second complacency model.
All right, that's excellent. I think that's one of the critical pieces, is that whole issue of fear, that whole issue of failure. We have a saying in our company. Failure is nothing more than feedback, and I tell our team, fail forward fast. I don't care if you fail. I just want to know that your head and your feet are pointed in the right direction and that you get up quickly. Uh, because what I want you to do is learn from the experience. And I love that idea of your feedback loop. It's we're testing. We know that we need to, adjust course. Maybe I need to change my wording a little bit, or I need to change my approach a little bit, or whatever that feedback was, how critical that is. And we've been taught to fear, failure through so many inputs. So I love that reprogramming our viewpoint of failure. So how important that is. So now so we've dealt with, okay, I use busy work to avoid the pain of doing what I know I need to do, because I've got some hidden fears. So now I'm dealing with my mental junk. uh, so that means I have to put together a new plan, and that new plan is an empowered plan, comes with a different mindset. So what are some of the things that any change in behavior takes time, and we've got to reinforce those new habits, those new patterns. So what are some of the steps that you encourage agents to take to reinforce those good new habits, those new patterns, to make that to where it becomes second nature for them?
So we have several challenges, we have several processes that they start utilizing on a daily basis. But really to affect long-term growth, it comes down to then our fourth pillar. We mentioned our third briefly, where it turns into power and that increased knowledge. But that fourth pillar is focus. So if we don't have a direction, if we don't have a purpose, that's where the self-made complacent comes in. Because all of a sudden you experience the success, you experience top performance, you feel like, oh, I had the best day ever, and I feel like my business is good. And by feeling that way, you became a self-made complacent because you stopped your progression and you went back to what's safe, what's normal, what you've come to know as normal. Even if you've made those changes and you improved, if you stop that progression, you became complacent. And so focus derives from values. Are you leading by numbers or are you leading by purpose? Leading by numbers gets you short-term results. Leading by purpose gets you long-term vision and actual change. Because if you don't have the purpose behind any goals, if you don't know the true reasons how it affects your values, how it changes your lifestyle, the people you're blessing, if you don't have a baseline understanding of how is this truly affecting others, that goal and that number is just a goal and a number. If you don't hit it, oh well. But if you change your perspective to, if I don't hit this goal, I'm going to have to let go of one of these employees because now the business can't support them and their family. So the reason I have this goal set is because I want to provide for this employee, their spouse, their kids, allow them to live a life they want to live. Having that being your driving focus behind that goal, that tenacity is what's going to keep you going forward towards it. So you have to have focus, you have to have vision, you have to have purpose on where you're going, and you have to be constantly learning. Having a mentor, listening to a podcast such as this, taking what you learn, increasing your knowledge, applying it back into your system, seeing more success, driving your focus, gaining more knowledge, you then create this cycle of top performance because top performance is a daily effort.
You you hit on something that I want to really drill into, because I think it's something a lot of agents miss. I think it's something a lot of entrepreneurs miss. The importance of having a mentor, having coaches. Let's talk about that. There's a lot of coaches out there, and I think sometimes people underestimate the importance of having that in their life. So I'm one of the first to tell anybody that asked me, how'd you get to where you got to? Has nothing to do with my education, has everything to do with the mentors and the coaches that have been in my life. So let's talk about that because to me, I think that above and beyond so many things is often the missing component. Um, a person may have the right drive. They've read all the right books. They've got their vision board. They're trying to do all the right things. They're doing their affirmations in the morning. They've read, Start with Why half a dozen times. They watch the YouTube video at least 4 times a year. They're highly motivated, but there's a disconnect. And so let's talk about how coaching and mentoring can help that agent really bridge the gap and fill in some of those missing pieces. What does the coaching and mentoring aspect bring into the agent's life that really brings it all together?
Give you I'll give you an example. So I love the outdoors. I love hiking. It's part of our brand. Top performance actually means summit a mountain. Um, and so you have to do the work to get there. So I love the outdoors. There is a time there I was hunting. If that offends you, I don't need to hear about it after. Um, but I was up, we were stalking a deer, and we were in what we felt was the perfect position. We were in a good spot. We saw the deer resting, and its natural tendency was to go right in front of us to the trees to bed down for the day. And we had um, my buddy's dad. He was watching it from the other side, and I had a distinct impression. Whether you say it's from God, whether you say it's your intuition, whatever it is, I heard a voice saying, "You need to move now and go after the deer. You're going to lose it." And I just thought to myself, no, I'm good. Like I'm fine where I'm at. Like I'm perfect. Like it's gonna come across us. It's gonna be an 80-yard shot. No big deal. I'll just wait. I'm fine. I heard it a second time. was like, my goodness, like he's literally watching the deer. Nothing's going to happen. It's still eating. And then a third time, and this is where I say it was from God because I was literally quoted scripture and it said, all good thoughts come from God. This is a good thought. Go after the deer now. And still, I sat there thinking I'm in the best spot. And not a few minutes later, the deer caught scent of some hunters that came into the valley, and it darted directly up the rock face out of sight. And we lost the deer. And that right there is our self-made complacent, where we feel like everything's good. But what a mentor does for us is it's that constant voice, it's that constant reminder, it's that accountability that says, hey, you need to continue to take action. You need to continue to grow. You need to take those next steps. And you need to continue your education every single moment because when you're complacent, there's no such thing as being steady or being still. There's only when you're still, you're negative, right? You're only going down when you're sitting there. And so that's the beauty of a mentor is it's going to be that individual that shows up on your calendar every single month or twice a month or whatever those programs that you align with to say, let's keep going. Let's keep moving. Let's keep progressing and go after the next best thing.
Excellent. I think the other thing that's so critical, at least in my life, is having that objective set of eyes, um, looking over my shoulder, and often they see just the one or two little things that I haven't thought about, or they ask the question that, hadn't thought about that. And it's just the right thing. And that's always been the value. Um, I may know 99% of what we discuss. It's that 1%. It's that one question, that one statement, that one observation that moves the needle, you know, so much. And so, great stuff here. So, Tyler, as we kind of start to land the plane, for anybody that's listening out here, what are some of the things that you would just put out there to our audience? And I think I'm going to kind of walk us through a couple of talking points to close us out here. Number one, how do you know that it's time to start looking for a coach?
If you do not have one, you should get one. Because as a business owner, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, even if you're even if you're an Olympic athlete, they have a coach. Is that athlete better than the coach at that sport? Yes, they are. Right? Is Steph Curry better than his coach at playing basketball? Yes. Right? Is Patrick Mahomes better than Andy Reid at football? Yes. But the fact is, the coach pushes you beyond what you think is possible. They give you those missing pieces. They help you progress. Like you said, it's that extra 1% that's going to make all that difference. The same goes for business. Business is about community, it's about growth. If you're trying to run a business all by yourself, there's a reason why 90% of businesses fail. Do it with others. Allow help. Have that humility to say, I'm willing to learn something today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the beauty of coaches is there are a lot. Business principles are time tested. What makes the coach is their presentation and their connection to you. The way they take time tested principles, everything we talked today, there's nothing new, But the way that I created it within the three complacency models, the four pillars of top performance, that's my uniqueness, right? So find a coach that has a uniqueness that resonates with you, something that connects with you, that says, okay, I like that new perspective, that new take, how they view the world. And so that's where we can get greater learning, knowledge, meaning, and progression.
Perfect. Hey, the second thing I want to bring out too is, there are agents listening at all different stages in their career. There's those just starting out. Coaching's a great thing, help you get over some of those initial fears. But the agent that I think I also want us to talk to is there's that agent that's been in the game a long time, and but you're stuck, and stuck is still stuck. And so I'd like you just to talk to them for a second.
Of course, of course. Um, it always makes me smile whenever I'm on the phone with an individual and they always say, I could teach you a thing or two about insurance. I've been doing this for 30, 40 years. And those people just make me smile because they are the epitome of what I help. They are self-made complacent. The beauty of leadership is you have to understand that good ideas can come from anyone. They can come from anywhere. They can come from your staff members. They can come from your employees. They can come from your children. There's so many lessons in life that I've learned as a father from my sweet 4-year-old or 7-year-old. And so if we take the moment to say, I can learn something from anybody, that's where you can progress. I personally have clients who are 33-year agents who are court of the table, $1 million round table qualifiers every single year. But they understand the value of progression. And it doesn't matter where you are, if you can continue to learn, life is about discovery. So ask yourself the question, can I discover something new today? And that's the mindset you have to have.
Perfect. So Tyler, if somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about you, where can they do that?
Yes, best way to connect with me is tylerjjensen.com. Make it
Okay.
real simple. Everything's on there. You can learn all about our programs. You can learn about speaking engagements, everything that we offer our clients or companies. All right there, tylerjjensen.com.
Fantastic. Tyler, thanks for joining me today. And to our audience, thanks for joining us on the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. We've been thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Carl. It's been fun.
All right.